load shedding now, because of course we are in this pattern of stage 1 during the day, stage 3 most evenings. We know that more severe power cuts are actually being offset by the open cycle gas turbines that are being run to capacity at the moment. But that aside, stage 3 might mean something quite different fairly soon. We've become used to understanding that it's 1,000 megawatts per stage of load shedding, but that might just start to change. We could move now to a percentage of total load system, which could see stage 3 meaning much more than 3,000 megawatts off the grid. I'm joined now by Vally Padayachee of the NRS Association. Now that's a grouping of electricity stakeholders that work as a voluntary collective to determine things like load shedding. Thank you so much for joining us. I read very carefully through this. The latest edition of the Code of Practice for Electricity Supply, which is edition 3, that allows for up to stage 16. And you've been on the show before chatting to us about that. But it looks like it's now being calculated potentially in a different way. We know it's going to be open for public comment. But it's a system that instead of looking at 1,000 megawatts per stage of load shedding, it looks at the required energy or the demand at any given time and then says, we need to take 5% of that. 5% is one stage of load shedding. Oh, we need to take 10%. Actually, that will be stage 2. 15% will be stage 3, which sounds simple, until we realize that the new system is based on a varying degree, because capacity or load demand this time of night, very different from load demand middle of the day. Why on earth do we need a new system that sounds a lot more complicated than we've got already?
Good evening, Sally, and a very good evening to your viewers as well, and thank you for inviting me back. I can assure you that this new system is an innovative way, and it's much more simpler than the previous one and less confusing. And let me explain that why. The previous system that ESCOM used was based on 1,000 megawatts per stage, but I can tell you technically it was never implemented as per 1,000 megawatts. It was either 800 megawatts, 900, 1,000, 1,200, and so on. And hence you had the confusion between stage 6 and stage 8. But let's not get there. The new system, as per edition 3, and hopefully once it gets to the NESA process and gets approved, that what it means is that basically, if you look at stage 1, and let's use that as an example, and if you make the assumption that, say, the demand, forecasted demand is 30 gigawatts, and that has to be the peak demand. Okay, that's important. So once that's been established by a national control system operator, forecasted, and then they would obviously try to make it up, right? And eventually they would use the normal base load, mid-merit, peaking, and then the curtailment, etc. Now, the 5% is calculated by that demand, say of 30 gigs, plus they add, plus or minus, 2,500 megawatts, which we call a reserve margin, in cases any...
Yeah, but let's not bring that in, because that's now complicated. It's confusing me.
Okay, no, fine.
I don't understand what difference it makes, essentially.
Okay, there is a difference, but let me not get there. So that 30 gigs minus what we call the curtailment load, where the key customers come in, and that's roughly about 7,500 megawatts. So it's the 30,000 megawatts minus the 7,500, which is about 22,500. And that gap of 30,000 versus that gives you, they would take the 5% of that, and if that 5% is, say, 1,500 megawatts, okay, then, for example, then stage 1 would be called.
Sure.
And then if it's...
I understand that.
Right.
I just don't understand why. Does it make it easier for the technical people that have to do this?
Yes,
and
I think,
why? If you can explain that simply. Maybe
yes,
it's difficult to explain.
I think primarily it makes it easier for the system operator the distribution control centers, the Munich control centers, to load shed on an instantaneous instruction. So, and the demand varies on the time of day, so whether it's evening, during the day, even morning, and it also varies between seasons, between months. So very simplistically, by coming up with this methodology, it makes it easy to protect the grid. And to protect the grid, we load shed.
Yeah, but we're already protecting the grid. I still don't understand. Does it mean that stage one will be maybe 1,000 megawatts at one point, but on another day it might mean 500 megawatts, for example? Does that mean my schedule at home is going to look very different? Or is it actually going to be exactly the same for me? Is the user experience, because let's face it, we've got our apps that give us a little bit of a warning, everything's set up for us to understand the system and work within it. Is this going to mean any difference for the consumer at home?
Yeah, I think, Sally, that's a very important question. And the quick answer is that it shouldn't make any difference, right? Because it will be operated by the different licensees, etc. So it should not make any difference.
So stage one isn't going to mean more hours. It's just going to mean more people in stage one to make up the load?
Yes, that's a quick response. And when you say hours, to be a bit more technical, up to stage 4, it'll be the same hours. When you get beyond stage 4, as I explained to you the last time, because you need to sort of switch off more substations, etc., you need more time. So the hours would increase right up to... So
the reason I'm trying to get a real simple understanding is because this is now open for public comment.
Yes.
Until when is it open for public comment?
I think it closed on the 22nd of September.
Okay, so there's a fair bit of time. If we don't understand the implications for us at home, it's quite difficult to get involved and to comment. So what are the potential implications for the average user of electricity, such as myself?
No, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be any much more different, right? Except, as I said to you, beyond stage 4, say stage 6, stage 7, 8, 9, and hopefully we don't get beyond that, the hours of load shedding may increase slightly, because...
Is this just a cunning way of me thinking I'm on stage 1, but actually I'm without power for longer, and Eskom's actually hiding the problems therein?
No, not with stage 1, not with up to stage 4,
Oh, okay,
5.
let's say stage 6. You know, will I be sitting in stage 6 under this new schedule, but actually I'm in stage 8 and feeling the pain of a stage 8 that I've become used to? Because remember, we've got used to the hours we're out under stage 1 and the hours we're out under stage 4, for example. Will stage 4 mean more hours?
The extra hours is a technical requirement to protect the grid from going to blackout.
And I get that, but from our perspective as consumers, we go, well, that's how long I have to manage without power.
Which is happening currently at the moment.
Yeah. So it is.
Yes.
What I'm asking you is, under the new system, will stage 6 ultimately mean more hours without power because it's a percentage, it's not a fixed amount?
No, it wouldn't. I mean, there could be slight differences, but for all intents and purposes, it wouldn't be a significant difference.
All right. So this is out for comment until late September. When is it due to be finalised?
Well, that's part of the NESA process. I'm unable to... Realistically,
what does it normally take?
Well,
years?
From there, expected timeline, I think it's about 2 or 3 more months, but it could be even earlier.
All right. Well, thank you very much for attempting to explain it. I think I've got it. I'm still not 100% sure why, but I'm guessing there's some very important engineering reason for it. But it's important for us because really we've become so used to load shedding and managing it within our lives. So this could be quite a significant change.
Yeah, if it's only just to say that whatever is being done, it's done in the best interest of the grid to protect the grid from collapsing, and there's no cunning way to make it difficult for the customer. Because we we look at both, but obviously our business is to protect the grid.
I got you. Yeah, I got to ask that because that's what everyone at home is
Obviously.
thinking. Thank you very much, Vally Padayachee, Chairman of the Management Committee of the NRS Association. They deal with load shedding. They're looking at a new system which is open for public comment. Edition 3 is taking us away from 1,000 megawatts per stage and saying one stage of load shedding is going to mean 5% off the grid. All right.